Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Learson and welcome to another episode of Synthesizer Show Tell. Each week I challenge myself to write one piece of music using only one synthesizer from my collection and share some tips and tricks on how to use the instrument. On my last episode featuring the Krumar Orchestrator, I asked for some ideas on what synth to do next, and I got a lot of great suggestions, so thank you. And ask and you shall receive. Today I am showing off the ARP Odyssey. Now, this is a remake from the original from 1972, which has been spearheaded by Korg. And I got this synth as a gift, so I'd like to give a shout out to my Aunt Ann and Uncle Dave for being super generous and super cool and getting a synthesizer for their nephew. Awesome. Okay, a couple features to note. The ARP Odyssey is a two-voice VCO duophonic synthesizer. It's all analog, and it's kind of what you see is what you get. There's no saving patches with this baby. And in a kind of Austin Powers fashion, Korg cloned the original, remade it in every way except 1/8 the size. And it comes with Korg's coveted slim keys. And if you'd like to see my rant on slim keys, check out my video on the Korg MS-20 Mini. Okay, so it's not exactly 1/8 the size of the original, but it is smaller. And I opted for the sexy black and orange Rev 3 version. And here's a taste of the track that I made using this synth. All right, so let's start off with kick. I've got this kind of low sound, but I'm going to make it even lower. Notice I got the decay and sustain all the way down. Now what I'm going to do is push up that resonance. Okay, now we're going to turn it right into a kick drum, pull that down. And then using that sweet VCF resonance and frequency, we can kind of get whatever pitch we want. All right, so let's move on to snare drum. I've moved this up. And I've also got my drive on. I pulled off the high pass filter, so there's just a little bit less low end, and I've pulled these down, so I've got a nice tight sound. Now I'm going to bring the resonance back up, get a little more snap. The filter's so snappy. I love that sound. And then the noise is really going to help. And then you can just find that sweet spot wherever you want it. All right, so then to make my hi-hat, I've got something kind of close dialed in. Something nice and snappy where everything is almost completely closed. But I'm going to switch over to pink noise now to get something that's just a little darker, not quite as in your face. And then I'm going to go to VCF type 3. Let's pull that resonance all the way up. That's sounding snappy and percussive, and then you can use the decay to make your hi-hat open or close. Now to round out our drum kit, let's make some toms. So I have this kind of sound going on. I'm going to go back to VCF type 1. And then I'm going to pull that resonance back up. All right, and then I'm going to go over here to our oscillator section where we can modulate the frequency, and I'm going to push them both up. So that pitch just goes pew, 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 down, down, down. And then you can get kind of close to the toms that you're looking for. I'm kind of liking that. Toms. All right, what does this ARP Odyssey do real well? Bass. Okay, just ask Herbie Hancock. For this track, I wanted to make a real moist, wet bass sound. What I'm going to do is I've already tuned my oscillators. They've got to be perfect. They got to be perfectly in tune. So I already did that. Now we're going to cut off the release. The sustain and decay are going to be pretty short. All right, I'm on VCF type 3, and I'm just going to sneak that resonance up. So if you find that perfect wet spot, not too much, but just like more than you think. That sounded real wet. Speaking of Herbie Hancock and bass, I thought I would share the way that I've tried to recreate the sound that he used in his original famous song, Chameleon. So here's the original Chameleon track. As I said before, the ARP Odyssey has two oscillators which are duophonic, and this is in a specific way. So I'll show you how. If you play two different notes, VCO1 will default low and VCO2 will go high. I'll show you how. Okay, so to accompany this wet bass line that I had made, I wanted to make some comping chords. Of course, since the synth is duophonic, you can play two notes at once. I'm on VCF type 3. I'm going to bring that resonance way up so I get kind of that cat meowing kind of sound. Portamento is pretty sensitive, so just a little bit. And then I have the LFO frequency being triggered over here. I'm going to bring that up just a little bit, like I want to bring it up just like a little too much. And then I get my kind of like cat meowing. Kind of weird cat meowing sound. All right, so I've created this kind of wacky soup, and I'm going to try and put a lead kind of melody over all that. And I'm enlisting the TC electronic flashback delay. And I'm going to use this opportunity to make a kind of sync sound because the ARP Odyssey does a dope job at doing the sync thing. There's just one oscillator with a delay. I got the second oscillator tuned up a fourth. All right. So I have the second oscillator being affected by the sample and hold, which is over here. and it's going to the LFO trigger. So I'm going to turn that way up. We're going to start getting some Willy Wonka robot sounds. Next, I'm going to turn up the FM LFO. Super wobbly. And it's all going to be pulled back in when I turn on the sync. So now there's all that movement, but it's not affecting the pitch. It's just kind of affecting the frequency of oscillator 2. Next, let's just make it sound even more interesting. We'll pull up the LFO, make it a little shaky, put it in some noise so you can hear it a little better, and a little wobble on the first oscillator, and maybe a little portamento. So there are some tips and tricks for the ARP Odyssey. Very cool sounding synth, super original, definitely a powerhouse in your arsenal if you can afford one, or if you have super cool aunt and uncles who will hook you up with one. I am really excited to see what Behringer is going to come up with, as they are slated to release an Odyssey of their own in 2019, but we'll just have to wait and see. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and tell me what synth you want me to do next. Here's the track I wrote. We'll see you next time.